in the soul from consciousness. So this is the inconscious coming down, now climbing up in this double ladder, the second part of the ladder now, the second lap. The first lap is involution, the second lap is evolution. But the second lap is not exactly running on the same track backward, you see. In the soul from consciousness to so now climbing up, each lifted tops to that from which it came, origin of all that it had ever been, and home of all that it could still become. While it is climbing up, home of all that still it will become. Now, you see, there is a little interesting thing, a kind of small little interesting thing here. Each lifted tops to that from which it came. This line. Now, yeah, now he's, of course, he's talking of the climbing up. Now, see, how do you understand this line? Each lifted, each, of course, for consciousness to consciousness. Each stands for consciousness. Lifted, yes. Tops to that from which it came. Its best, its highest, its peaks, from which they came, you see. That is what that, each part of the consciousness, each top is reaching that. That is one way of life. Or, in other words, tops is a noun. Tops is a noun. Each lifted tops is top, to that its peaks, its highest, to that from which it came. So now, but for a moment, we can also, each lifted, consciousness lifted, tops to that from which it came. Use tops now as a verb. A consciousness lifted and tops to that from which it came. So, in a word, you can consider for a minute tops as a noun, tops also as a verb. The grammatical amazement is it can be used both ways, grammatically, you see.
More likely it is used as a noun.
Now, because you see what happens, the question is each lifted tops. You have to define what these tops of consciousness are.
It's the highest consciousness from where.
But tops, not one.
Plural, yeah, but they are
So, what are the tops of a consciousness? What are the peaks of a consciousness? What are the heights of a consciousness? Not a height, not a peak, not a summit, not a top, but heights and peaks. So, we have got a life, for instance. What are its tops? So, that remains unspecified in a certain sense, you see. If you take tops as a noun, then you define what are the tops of a given level of consciousness. You have got Himalaya, you have got Kanchenjunga, you have got Nanga Parvat, you have got Dhavalagiri, you have got Mount Everest and all that thing. So, these are the tops of Mount Himalaya. Same way, Alps has its own tops. Each mountain has its own top. So, now, in other words, each top of Himalaya has its own personality, has its own character, has its own individuality. Kanchenjunga is not the same as Nanga Parbat or Dhavalagiri. They have got their own personality, their own expression, their own essence, you see, like that. So, each consciousness having so many tops, each top must have its own personality. So, that remains kind of little undefined if you take tops as a noun. But if you take tops as a verb, then the problem, each lifted, each consciousness lifted. What? It's tops, so that tops to that from which it came, that consciousness from which it came. It is that consciousness from which it came, you see. So, that becomes a little tricky kind of a thing. And one can keep on arguing, but still I will say that the English idiom, if tops is to be a verb, then the line would have been, in the soul from consciousness to consciousness, each lifted, topped to that from which it came, not tops.
So you also think it's more noun?
See, because the whole description is like, it means the English idiom would demand topped in the past tense. Each lifted, topped to that from which it came, not tops. So, if you go by the English medium, if you go by the English medium, you rule out tops as a verb from the way of the construction here it is. But then you have to still specify what are the tops of a consciousness.
This is each time different.
No, each consciousness has tops. This is my point.
Yes, but each
You are in the world, in the consciousness of life. Now, what are the tops of life? See, so that has to be specified then. That has to be specified.
What is the consciousness? What is the top of life?
Consciousness of mind. See, it has tops, it has high peaks, it has high achievements, high glories, high triumphs. What are those things we have to describe? In tops. You see. The only way perhaps one could say is that tops of life, many powers of expression in the world of life. Many powers of expression in the world of life. And each power has its own peak of life. Grandeur, nobility, valor, bravery, magnanimity. So these are the characteristics of life. So each one now becomes a top. Each now becomes a top, you see. So that way you can then justify tops as a noun, lifted top. Life is grandeur, is nobility, is vivacity, dynamism at the highest peak. Same way mind is power of intuition, power of discernment, power of understanding, of perception. These are the tops of mind.
Yeah, the mind is more clear than life.
But life is more clear.
No, the mind is more clear.
More clear, but life also, see, majesty, royalty, Aishwarya. See, each is a kind of a richness.
Like matter.
Yeah.
Tops of matter.
Yeah. Matter also expresses its own beauty, its own joy in every respect.
You equate matter with life.
No. Matter is, you have understood aspect of life. Royalty. You see, you live in a very royal manner. You can live in a poor manner. You can be very generous and buoyant and happy and dynamic. Each one has a noble quality of the spirit. Each one. You see, there are people, philanthropes, they just donate, give like that. You see. They don't bother about any other consequences at all. So that is a quality of life. Now that reaches its top there. You see. Same way in the world of matter, which is more difficult, but in the world of matter, you see, the way you see crystals, there are 14 types of crystalline forms. Each one, diamond is different, pearl is different, topaz is different, its own beauty, its own character. Now that you live, that you know, visualize in the highest plane. It has reached its top. Diamond has become that diamond, not this diamond. A star is that star, not the star of the night. So that way one can say their tops could mean that, you see. But this is a very interesting line, I thought. You see, the tops could be either a verb, it could be a noun also, you see, as far as the line is concerned, you see. We are ruling out tops as a verb because the English idiom which Shivandu follows, Shivandu is very clear, very definite about that. He follows the English idiomatic form. English idiomatic form would demand top, past tense. Each lifted, topped to that from which it came. No?
Okay, yeah.
An organ scale with eternal. So this whole thing is an organ scale now. The entire octave is built up here now. The entire octave is built up here. An organ scale. You see, this is another Homeric simile now coming here. An organ scale with eternal acts, mounting to the climax in an endless calm, climbing up, where? Into that calm. Passage to the magnificent, wonderful, predestined stadia of the evolving way. Predestined stadia. You have the world of life, you have the world of matter, you have got the world of overmind, you have got the higher worlds, up. Each is a stadia. Stadia means a step, a stage, stadium. That is Latin form of it. Predestined stadia. From matter you go to life, from life you go to matter, mind, etc. Each is a stadia. Predestined. So they are all because predestined, because they are part of the evolutionary ladder which you are climbing up. Predestined stadia or the evolving way, measures of the stature of the growing soul. Yeah, that is how the soul is growing. It is becoming rich, it is becoming affluent, it is becoming more powerful, more luminous also. They interpreted existence to itself and mediating twixt the heights and deep, united, the veiled, married opposites. Veiled, married opposites. Yeah, the opposites are there, but then they are always married, they are together. They are veiled, you see. United, the veiled, married opposites. So this ladder is really linking up spirit and matter in that way. And linked creation to the ineffable. This whole ladder is such a gigantic ladder that from the inconscious is climbing up all the way up to the ineffable, to the unknowable. You have got the neither worlds, you have got matter, life, mind, you have got the worlds of Satchidananda, then you come to the world of ineffable. The whole ladder is there. Sapta loka, seven loka worlds. Sapta loka, bhu bhuva swaha. A last high world was seen where all worlds meet. Satchidananda. In a summit gleam where night is not, nor sleep. Night, nor sleep. There cannot exist night there. There is no ratra there. There is no nidra there, sleep. Sleep. Even the prajna consciousness is absent. Sushupti, that is absent there, you see. The divine knowledge. In a summit gleam where night is not, nor sleep, the light began of the Trinity Supreme. He has made it explicit now. This whole word is Trinity Supreme, Satchidananda. Trinity Satchidananda, Supreme. He has made it absolutely explicit. Trinity. By the way, this Trinity Satchidananda, the code name for the atomic project.
For the what project?
Atomic project.
Atomic?
During the World War II, when the bomb was first exploded in New Mexico desert, that project was called Trinity. That project was called Trinity.
Just like that.
Well, they had named it Trinity, you see, and it was kept absolutely secret from everybody, you see.
True. There are documentaries.
Absolutely, yeah, Trinity. They had called that project Trinity, you see. Alamogordo explosion of the atomic bomb. All they had discovered what it seeks for here. Obviously, everything is found there now, because that unknown has given to you all knowledge now. It freed the finite into boundlessness. It freed the finite into boundlessness and rose into its own eternity. So all that was little here, life, our urges, our longings, everything has now become free and found their true meaning there.